Hey, what's up YouTube? This is a boy Anthony. Today I'm so glad because I'm going to show you how to come up with an Android application that can actually ask data from a user and save that data in the database, delete, update, and basically perform the whole CRUD operation. So join me, fasten your seatbelt. Don't forget to share and subscribe to this channel to support this channel so that I can be able to produce more content. So today, just to show you a demo of what's going to be created at the end of this tutorial. So this is what you're going to create: a form, a very simple form that allows a user to enter their name, their profession, their residence, and their password, and they can say save. After saving, they can go ahead and say view and view the data that have been saved. So let me show you the images for data that has already been saved, how it will look like, and this is how it will look like. Okay, this is how it will look like. So when you launch this app, this will be the first view. This will be the first view to see. And if you want to add another, or basically if you want to add data, it will take you to this page. So you'll see this form, you can enter data and say save, and then when you say view, it will take you back to this other activity. So stay tuned, don't forget to share and subscribe. Okay, so guys, let's proceed on. So we're going to start by saying start a new Android Studio project, and then say empty activity, and then say next, and then give it a name. So I'm going to call it data app. So let's just give it a very simple name, and then choose a directory where you want to save it. I want to save it in MIT folder, and then say finish. So my app has already been created. So we'll start off by designing the front end that we need, or the user interface, and then later on we'll have a session for pretty much grabbing that data and saving it to the database. So when you look at the images that I was showing you guys, you'll see there is a couple of things. We need an image like this one, which I just downloaded online. We need these icons or vector assets, and we need to style the input or the edit text so that it looks like this. And we even need to add some gradient. As you can see, it's fading from the top to the bottom. Sorry about that, fading from the top to the bottom. Yeah, and then let me see this other image needs an icon like this one, an icon like this one. So we already have this, and we need a delete and edit icon. So let's start of all by creating these icons. So we need an icon for user. So how do you add an icon or a vector asset? You go to res, drawable, right click, then say new, go to vector asset. So we need a vector asset for a user. So I'll say user, or just say person. So this is what I need. You select that and then say okay. Give it a name that you can remember. Just call it user, and then say next, then finish. So I'm going to do the same for the rest of other icons. So I need to follow the same procedure up to the end. So I'm going to pause this to add the remaining icons. So I've added the necessary icons. So I have the one for deleting, editing, for password, profession or career, residence, the user icon for adding, and the image that I'm going to display on my form for adding data. So that said, next we need to add what we call the gradient. As you can see, this image has a kind of a gradient, so you have the darker part on the top and the lighter parts on the bottom, as well as the action bar has a specific color that looks similar to our app. So we'll start by styling the action bar, pretty much changing the colors, and then go ahead and design the rest of other things. So I'm going to use the material palette colors to add some colors for my app. So let me choose a color. I think I can go, I'll change my color. Let me go with this one as my dark primary. So click and it will copy on the clipboard. Go to your colors file in values, colors, and then say primary color dark is going to be what you've changed it to. And then the lighter part of it will be, let's see, this part. Cool. So next we need to add colors for our text. So just put the cursor where mine is and hit Ctrl D, and then say color text. So all my text colors are going to have a white color. So I'll say text value FF 6 times. So that's how you write a white color in hex value. Okay. We also need to add the color for our button, because we're going to have a button. So also I'm going to go back, select a color for my button. How can it blend in with the, what if we put this as the color of our buttons? So color button. We also lastly need a color for our cards. So what is the what am I referring to when I say a card? A card is this section that you see here. So let's give it a color, a much lighter color. Somewhere around here will be fine. Yeah. So let's Control D and say color card. Going to be that. Like that. So we've already styled our respective buttons, card, and text, and some background color. So if I go back to, so let me close all of these ones, close all, go back to activity, the layouts, show decoration. You see our app color has changed. Our app color has changed. So I want us to add the gradient. So to add the gradient, just go to your drawable folder, right click, then say drawable resource file. And then we'll say the name of this resource file is going to be app underscore gradient. And then let's go ahead and style the gradient. Change the selector from selector to what we usually call shape. So after adding the shape property, let's give this an actual shape. So say shape and then say rectangle, and that one ends there. So guys, you can see the gradient being displayed on my right. So this is the gradient it's going to have. So end color, I'm going to say color primary. So these two colors seem to be very close to each other. So let's make one very dark, another one much lighter. So if we head here and make this one much lighter. Okay. Yeah, that is pretty much okay. And then lastly, we need to add what we call an angle. Let's say 270. So up to that point, we are done with the gradient. With respect to our current app or the picture that we have for our app, we've managed to achieve this part, the background color and the image. Now we need to add the image. Background color has already been done. So to add an image, you need to go to our we need to go to our main activity and then choose main activity. So remove the text view in our main activity and add an image. But first of all, let's make use of a linear layout to save on time so that don't waste time designing stuff. But soon I'm going to have a tutorial for designing, so I'll let you. So if you've subscribed, you'll get the notification. So in this linear layout, I'm going to add another linear layout and add some padding. I will have to change this one to a scroll view because this content might get big. So scroll view. So let's go ahead and add our image. So the width list is going to be 150. Okay guys, we've managed to design that part. So lastly, not really the end of this, but we need to apply the gradient on this layout and design how the edit text should look like. So let's add the gradient on the scroll view. So say background. And there we are. So let's go ahead and design our edit texts. So to design our edit text, we need to go ahead and create another layout file. So let's say so basically what I'm going to create is the styling for our edit texts. So you notice that the radius has curved. So basically our edit text would be looking like this. It will be looking like this. But we need to get a lighter version. So if you go here, back here, we're going to say our edit texts are going to have a background. So let me add a background. So there we are. So we need to apply the same to each and every edit text. So next, guys, we need to style up the we do have these icons down here that need some styling. Yeah, you can see they are not very visible. We need to style them up. And to style them, we need to just give them a background color. So the style for those are found inside my_ic.xml. So how do you create that? I'll repeat. You just right click the drawable folder, again new resource, and then you give it the name my_ic. This name here, you put it here, and then after that just say OK, and then to return back to you an empty file, not completely empty, but with regards what you want to achieve is going to be empty, and add this code. So lastly, it's going to be resembling the same code that you see here for the edit text. So I thought I should not repeat myself and just do away with this one and make use of this other one. Cool. So I'll go ahead and remove that and then come back to my edit text in my image views. In my image view, this one and this one, I want to style them to have the same background as our edit text. So I'll add a property background. I'm going to change it to what was that again? Style edit text. So style edit text. That's much visible. Another one is going to be style edit text as well, so I'll just copy. So I'll copy that and paste it there. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to assign IDs to these views. To assign IDs to this particular edit text and everything that we need to use in our backend, we'll use a property called ID, which is not there yet. So as I'm going to change the ID, I'm also going to change the hints. So the first edit text needs an ID, so say ID that, and then we give it an ID. So which ID are we referring to? We're referring to an ID of an edit text. So I'll say ET and then say name. Okay, and then, sorry, I'm editing the wrong one. Should be the edit text. So edit text, right, name, and then the next one is going to be ET profession, ET profession, and then we need to add a hint. So let's add hint. Sorry, it already has a hint. So down there it is. So say profession. Next is residence. So say residence. Sorry, ID ET residence. So I'm just going to keep quiet and add this one by one as you watch. So the input type is going to be password, so we expect a text password. So expect a user to enter a password over here. So the rest can be left the way they are. We can also add our input type. So to have consistency, I'll add input type. So input type text. Copy that text. So we are good up to that. So let's change these durable images. So the first one is okay. The second one should be profession, which should look like a hat for graduation. So let's drawable. We'll start is going to be, so for profession is going to be IC profession. The second one was IC home, and lastly do you have one? IC underscore residence, we named it to residence, and lastly we have IC password like that. So let's go to the images, add IDs. So it's going to be img add, this other will be id img let's say next or next page, so that we go to the next page. So up to this point our work looks very okay. So we need to now add the logic for now processing data and adding data into the database. But before that, you need to go ahead and run this app and confirm it is working. So I'm going to run on my machine, on my phone, and confirm it is working. So guys, I've run my app on my Android phone, and I just need to change some few things. So these images are kind of cut on the bottom. So let's reduce height to 45. Let's just reduce the height a little bit. Solve the problem. Okay, so that's just a design issue. I pretty much believe you can solve it. So just need to style it a bit for the last time. Say dark. Okay, so let's proceed to designing or looking at the code that we need to process this data in the back end. So to process this data, we need to create a custom adapter. We need to create another activity that will help us see the data that the user has added. We need to add another file that will use as a user model, or the way a class that will define the data type that we need. So I'm going to start of all designing I'll start of all by creating a class that is going to define how our data should look like in terms of columns, basically data types. So I'm going to say Kotlin. It's going to be a Kotlin class, and I'm going to call it data item, and then hit enter. This data item is going to be of type data class, and it expects the following types of data. So it needs a value, for the name, so I'll say val. In fact, I'll just put them side by side that you can see. So split vertical. So we need name, so we'll say val name. Type is going to be a string. So that is the first one. So let me redo that again. Should be here. Yeah. So we need a value, a name that is going to be a string. S has to be capital. So that is the first thing we expect. We need another one, val profession. that also is going to be a string. We need another value for residence, which is also going to be a string. And lastly, we need password, which is going to be a string as well. So this class called data item is just a blueprint or a schema of how our data should look like, So I'll close that. So next we need to go ahead and create our custom adapter. So a custom adapter is basically a bridge between the user interface and the code running in the back end. Okay? And the code running in the back end. So a user adapter, I've already written it, but I'm just going to show you how to do that. You right click the package, new, and then you say Kotlin file /class. So you'll say this is going to be named custom adapter, and pretty much just name it the way I've named. You can give it another name, but I'll advise you to use the same name. So the custom adapter, as I've said, is the bridge between the data being processed in the back end and what is going to be viewed in the front end. So the custom adapter, I already have the code, but I'll explain it when the time comes for interacting with this custom adapter. So copy and paste. So I said that a custom adapter is what? Is a bridge between the back end and the front end. So this class is taking a number of arguments. One is the context, or where this custom adapter should be operating from. Second is the data that you want to use. So this custom adapter will be taking in a list of users that you've added in our database and return back and inflate them in another view that I'm going to show you, or we're going to create together. So it's going to take an array and then it's going to inherit from a base adapter. So without this class, we want to be able to use some functionalities that come with an adapter. So the reason why we have red here is because we don't have a class called user model. So this means that this data will be an array of data items. So you need to say data item, an array of data item. So when you use this custom adapter, you should expect a data item as, an array of data item. So over here we create we create variables that are going to be initialized in the front end. So we need a variable text of type text view for the name, for the profession, residence, and password, and image delete, as you will see. So I'm going to show you why we need this. Also, I'm going to explain why we need all this. For now, I think I'll just comment this section and come to it later because we need to design some other few stuff. So let me comment out this custom adapter. So the whole of that. So we'll come to it later. So the reason why I'm going back to another thing is because these values that we're using here have not been defined yet. So let's go to our main activity where we need to pull data from the form and store them in the database. Cool. So before doing anything, we need to first of all initialize an instance of our database. We need to know where our data is going to be stored. So we'll say val db : so db is just a variable and it's going to be of type SQLite database, and then assign that one to another, so we convert that one to an object of open or create database. So if the database is not open, it will open it. If it has not been created, it's going to create it. So inside there, you need to put these values. So the first value that you need to put there is the name of the database. So I'll say appdb. You can give it any name. And then what follows after that is the context. So context, just say context, select that and delete. So we need context dot mode private. So this means that this data is going to be private from other application. So this data in this database is going to be private from other applications. So this means that if you have other apps that will want to access this kind of data that you're currently adding, they won't be able to do that because this data is going to be private. And then just say null like that, and that will remove that error. So I'll add a comment, create an instance of a database. Next, we need to go ahead and create the table, that one of the table that is going to exist in this database called appdb. So we need to say db So guys, what is happening here is you're basically saying the instance of the database has a method by the name execute SQL, and what it will do, it is going to run this instruction into the database. So we're basically telling the database to create a table if it does not exist, and then what follows after that is the name of the table together with the columns that is going to have. So the name of our table is going to be called users, and then you add parentheses. So next, what you're going to put inside the table is going to be the columns that are going to exist in this database table. So I'll use the data KT to guide me. So we need a column for name, so I'll say name. So name is going to be which type of data. What type do we expect? We expect a variable character. So if done PHP, this is very common in PHP. So we've defined name. So next you add a comma. So the next column is going to be profession, of data type as well, variable character. So just separate them with a space. Next column is going to be residence. So varchar as well, variable character. Lastly, we need a password, which also is going to be a variable character. Yeah guys, and up to that point we've created a table by the name users, having a column name, column profession, column residence, and column password. So next we need to add a functionality such that if a user clicks the save button or add button or the image that we do have there, so let me split the screen once again. So when the user clicks this button down here, what should we do? What should we do? When the user clicks this, we are going to now save the data. So what is the ID of this image? So you only need the ID. So it is img add. So copy that. So I'll close this one for now. So we'll say listen to not caps. So listen to a click event on the add data image. So what is the ID? The ID is btn add, and then we say dot. So the reason why it is in red is because we've not imported it, so I'll alt enter. So to import it, so I'll say image add dot set on click listener. So this means that when the user clicks the image, first of all we need to go ahead and grab the data that the user has entered in our form. So I'll pull it again, split the screen. So if the user entered the name, we need to store that name in a variable. So how do you grab that data? So I'll say grab data from form. So form is this that we have here. So we'll say what is the ID for name? So it's going to be, I think it is TV name. Yeah, TV name. So you copy the ID and say val name is assigned to dot text dot trim. So we are trimming because a user might enter a space before the name, and then dot to string. Okay, to be more standardized, you can say the type of data you expect here is a string, though this is not really necessary. I'm just looking at good practices. So we need next we need profession. Profession also is going to be a string, and you can find it from et profession, so you replace that one. Next is residence. Residence, and then it is et residence. Lastly, password. Et password. Et password, like that. So that's how you grab the data. So if the user entered data, is going to be stored in these respective variables. So next we need to check if the user really entered data. If they didn't enter data, we can pop up a message back to them and tell them, please add data. Okay, so we're going to say if the name that the user has entered dot, if it is empty, let's do something, or let's refer back the user. So if the name is empty, or so maybe the name is not empty, the profession dot is empty, or maybe it's not empty. What about residence? Residence dot is empty, and then, or lastly, password dot is empty. So if any of them is empty, what should we do? We need to return back a message. So show a message to the user. So returning feedback to the user is going to be a very common practice. Yeah. So why can't we just create a function that is going to help us return feedback back to the user? So outside the onCreate function, which is here, we're going to create a function that return back a feedback to the user. So this is how we usually do stuff based design as well. So you have to create a function by the name show message. It's going to be a private function, and it's going to be named show underscore message. Again, you can give it any name, and this function is going to take two arguments. One is going to be the title of the message, and two is going to be the actual message or more information about what is currently happening. So we expect the title, which is going to be type a string. We also expect a message, which is going to be of type string. So in this message, we're going to make use of an alert dialog box. An alert dialog box. So let's create an instance or an object of the alert dialog box and feed it with the right data. So this alert dialog box is going to be of type alert dialog builder. So alert dialog dot builder. So it's going to build an alert dialogs and then assign it to now the alert dialog builder class. So alert dialog dot builder, and this builder needs to know the context, and context means where should we display this alert dialog box whenever we have to show a message to the user. So context is going to be this. So context, this is what? Main activity. So it's going to be shown in the main activity. Cool. So after that, we need to add a message that will be a boolean type of boolean. So we're going to say in our alert box that we've just created, this one over here, we do have a method by the name set cancelable, and then say false. So it means that it should not cancel by itself by default. So it should not cancel itself until the user confirms, and then alert dialog dot set title. So an alert dialog can have a title and also a body for the message. So the title is going to be title, which is basically this title that we are going to take in. We also need to set the message part. So set message is going to be variable message. Okay. Sorry, I'm using a wrong, is it the right variable? So we need to change, so alert dialog dot set title, it needs a title, and it also needs a message, going to be message. So the title here is what we put here, and then the message is what we put here. So we've loaded the alert dialogs with the data. We need to add a button that will allow people to say okay whenever they want to, pretty much. So after they've read the message, after displaying the message to them, we need to give them an option to say okay and dismiss the alert dialog box. So we need to say alert dialog dot set positive. So when it's a positive response from the user, so save set positive button. So the text that we are going to return the user is going to be just okay. So if they click OK, it means they have seen the message and they want to proceed on. And then on that dialog box, so dialog, we need an interface. And then in this interface, we need to set an on-click listener. So we'll say on dot, sorry, comma, dot, sorry, on-click listener. And this on-click listener is going to make use of a dialog box. So we say curly brackets and say dialog. interface, and then say dialog, like that. And then if the user says OK, after clicking OK, want to remove this dialog box, so say dialog dot dismiss, like that, and be OK to continue to the next step. So after that, after the user has said alert dialog, you're going to say alert dialog dot create dot show. So the alert dialogs is going to be showed first, and then if the user says OK, it's going to dismiss the alert dialog. So we need to use this message, this dialog box in our app. So we'll come down here, up above, and say the title missing data. What is going to be the message? Please fill in all the fields. So that's what the user is going to see by default. Otherwise, if they were not empty, store data into the database. So to store the data into the database is quite simple as well. You just need to understand the following steps and be very keen. So you need to say our database should execute an SQL query or perform the following instruction, and the instruction are going to be put inside double quotes. So we're going to say insert, so insert, what do you want to insert? Insert into a table called users, and then what are the values that you want to insert? So you say values, and then after values you add parentheses. And now this second step now is the one that is going to be confusing to most of the people. So this is how you add the data. Okay, you first of all enter single quotes, and then after single quotes you enter double quotes, opening and closing. Be very careful, guys. And then after that you add open 2 plus signs, and then inside these 2 plus signs you enter the variables that now store the data, like for instance name, and you put name there. Okay, so this will be the first data. The second data will be delineated by adding a comma and say still the same thing, single quotes opening and closing, double quotes opening and closing, and then plus plus, and then what we need to enter there is profession. Next, comma, double single quotes, double quotes opening and closing. Be very keen. And then plus sign, and then you need sorry, I'm also missing already, residence, comma, another one, single quotes opening and closing, double quotes opening and closing. Make sure it is double quotes opening and closing, and then plus sign, and then that is password, like that, password. So after adding the data, we need to return back to the user a success message and tell them data has been added successfully. So we need to go ahead and say show the message, and the message is a success message, and then more information about the message is data added successfully. Data added successfully. So it means that the data has been added successfully. Okay, and that's what we need to do up to that point. And that's what we need to do up to that point. So without wasting time. So after adding the data into the database, we need to clear the input fields, okay? So we need to create a function that will help us clear the input field. Otherwise, we can just empty the input fields automatically. So let's just do it manually so that you can see how it is done, and then go ahead and empty it. So what do you want to empty? We want to empty et name. So we'll say et name dot set text. So and then you say opening and closing double quotes. So it means that after saving data into the database, let's clear the data that was inside the edit text. So I'll control D, or maybe let me add a message here, a comment. So clear the edit texts after successfully adding data into the DB. So clear. So to save on time, I'll control D and say the next one is going to be profession. The next one is going to be, I'm just referring to the IDs for these edit texts, like that, and that will clear the edit text. But I was preferring, instead of accumulating a lot of information here, why can't we define a function and put this functionality there and call this function? So the function is going to be a private function, and then it's going to be called clear. Let's just call it clear text, and then its body is going to be all we've written here, and put it there. And then let's now call this method inside there with parentheses, and that's how it's done. So I need to go ahead and run my app and confirm that it is actually doing the right thing. Okay guys, if you followed me up to that point where I've reached, the app should work perfectly well. So thanks guys for watching. So this will be part A of this session. Part B is going to be reading data from the database and displaying it in another activity. That's where we're going to make use of the custom adapter once again. And then from that activity, from that section, we're going to be able to delete. We're also going to be able to edit and pretty much finish up with the CRUD operation. So once again, thanks guys for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and share this wonderful knowledge to the rest of the world. Bye guys.